On behalf of the Ministry of Environment and the BCRC Caribbean, it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's National Endorsement Workshop. We are grateful for your presence and thank you sincerely for taking the time to join us. Your participation is vital as this workshop brings together a diverse group of stakeholders, each of you playing an important role in shaping the environmental future of our country. The updated NIP reflects our national priorities, emerging challenges, and a collective vision for healthier and safer environment. Your insights and endorsement today are essential as we finalize this document to the conference of the parties. I encourage you to engage fully in today's discussions, share perspectives, and help ensure that the plan truly reflects the needs and realities of Dominica. Thank you once again for being here, and before we proceed, we would like to have a moment of prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Lord, we'd like to thank you for gathering us here today, and we ask that we have a productive and engaging workshop, and that all the goals of this workshop are met today, and we can leave today ready or almost ready to have our submission to the conference of the parties and to move forward with implementing in the stuff that are in the document. Thank you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good morning to everyone. Welcome to live coverage of this broadcast here at the Fortian Hotel. It's the GEF 1078-5 Global Development Review of the and update of national implementation plans under the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutions. We are broadcasting from the Fortian Hotel. We just had Mr. Omondi McIntyre, GEF Islands National Project Assistant, doing the welcome and prayer. And now we are getting ready for other remarks by some of the other officials.
Good morning, everyone. So as mentioned, my name is Amara Pravat, and I am currently a project coordinator at the Basel Convention Regional Center for Training and Technology Transfer for the Caribbean, also known as the BCRC Caribbean. It's my pleasure to be here today to provide opening remarks on behalf of the Center's Acting Director, Mr. Anand Maraj, who regrets that he could not be here with us today, but sends his regards and well wishes. So, persistent organic pollutants, or POPs. These are a group of carbon-based chemicals that can remain intact for long periods of time without degrading. They can also be transported through the air and water to become widely distributed throughout the environment. They can accumulate in the fatty tissues of living organisms, such as ourselves, and they're unfortunately highly toxic and can result in adverse effects on both humans and wildlife. For us humans, POPs can lead to a range of diseases and health impacts such as liver damage and kidney cancer. They can also, unfortunately, have developmental effects on unborn children. While that sounds quite scary, I think the people here in the room and the people of Dominica can rest assured that Dominica is doing its part to protect its citizens and the environment against the negative impacts of POPs. One way that this is being done is through the country's participation in the global project titled the Global Development Review and Update of National Implementation Plans under the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants. Over the last 2 years, with the support of the national project team and local stakeholders such as yourselves, we have been able to gather data on POPs use here in Dominica as well as emissions of POPs. The project team has also supported in the development of action plans that Dominica can implement to continue to protect its citizens and the environment against POPs, as well as to fulfill its obligations under the Stockholm Convention. Today, as Troy mentioned, we are here for the National Endorsement Workshop, which brings Dominica a step further in its journey to update its initial national implementation plan under the Stockholm Convention. At the end of the workshop, we hope that you all have a better understanding of what Dominica's updated NIP comprises, and that will include things like its POPs inventories and action plans to manage POPs throughout the country. And I'd like to end by really stressing that the updated NIP needs to be endorsed nationally by the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And after it's nationally endorsed, as I think Omondi mentioned, it has to be submitted to the Secretariat of the Convention. So we want to ensure that what is presented here today, before it's submitted to the Convention, it represents what Dominica wants to see for its country and its people. So we really encourage you to share with us your thoughts and make sure that what you hear today makes sense for the local context and situation. And with that, I will say thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. I know that a lot of you guys have very busy schedules. So yes, thank you very much. And I will pass the floor back to Troy.
Thank you, Amara, for those words. The next speaker on the agenda is Ms. Mahela Pon, Program Management Officer at the United Nations Environment Program. Mahela, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Troy and Amara. And good morning, distinguished participants. And thank you so much for inviting UNEP to this event today to deliver the opening remarks. It is a pleasure to be here online as you move into this important stage under the Stockholm Convention National Implementation Plan update process. So you have now reached this phase 5, which is the endorsement and submission phase, which we see it as a critical milestone that marks the culmination of the technical and consultative work undertaken so far. So at this stage, your focus is basically to ensure that the National Implementation Plan clearly communicates its scope, purpose, and national relevance, reflecting Dominica's priorities and commitment of persistent organic pollutants. An essential part of this phase, of course, is the stakeholder consultation. That's why you are here today. And your feedback and perspective are vital to ensure that the NIP is basically inclusive, practical, but also representative of the national realities. Based on the today, basically the NIP is to be finalized and submitted for official endorsement by the relevant national authorities. And I think this extended endorsement, all of you present, is a key step in securing the political support for its implementation, which basically, so it's not enough to have a NIP, but it is important to be able to implement it afterwards and all the authorities to be committed towards that. So once endorsed, as mentioned by Amara earlier, the NIP is to be transmitted to the Conference of the Parties, therefore fulfilling Dominica's obligation under Article 7 of the Stockholm Convention. But importantly, as I mentioned, this phase also lays the foundation for implementation by putting in place the mechanisms for review, updating, and regular reporting, ensuring the NIP remains a living, adaptable document that evolves with the new obligation and national developments as well. So I would like to commend the government of Dominica and all stakeholders involved for your continued collaboration and dedication throughout this process. I believe together you will be able to build a strong framework that supports both national and global efforts to protect human health and the environment from the harmful POPs. So thank you so much, and I wish you fruitful consultation and deliberations today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahela, for those words on behalf of the implementing agency. On the agenda, I would like to invite to the podium the Honorable Minister, Mr. Cozier Frederick, Minister of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment to provide some words on behalf of the Government of Dominica.
Thank you very much. I'd like to extend a warm greeting to everyone in the room, especially the wonderful folks on the BCRC, the UNEP, the JEF, the staff of the Ministry of Environment, our stakeholders, the consultants. I also think I saw our ambassador in the room. And to say that for me today is not just a workshop. It has to be more than a workshop. It has to be part of that journey to build Dominica into a first climate resilient country. So this is serious business, and for me it is with deep pride as a person of Kainago descent, of First Peoples descent, to understand that within the constructs of a modern society, we have to deal with the ever-emerging troubles that face our climate. Our country is a very important space. I think for the most part we take it for granted that we have this. Coming out of a major climate event like Hurricane Maria, and how our country bounced back, how the greenery took over the land. A land that we saw was made bare by a hurricane. How the rivers really nourished the land. And we take it for granted. And it is a fact that nature has a way of taking care of itself. One of the issues that we face as part of the global family is that we ourselves as people may be the problem. Because in my simple analysis, I realized that nature can take care of itself. But it's the habits of we as human beings that make it difficult for ourselves to survive in the space that is so unique and important to us. So the exercise we're going to do here today, it has to be more than just administration or an administrative exercise. Yes, we have a commitment with the Stockholm Convention. Yes, we have to sit and have a workshop. Yes, we have to talk about this thing. But I think we also have it has to be more than that. We have to have I think it is a moral obligation that we have to keep that space intact, the very same way that our ancestors kept it intact for us. And I keep telling gatherings that we forget the tough history that we came out of. For more than 200 years in the colonial enterprise, Dominica was kept pristine because that land was protected by warriors who fought invading forces. So it's not by chance we have the wonderful forests. People actually died and bled for that. So we have this legacy to length of the imagination. We have very good people in this room who can explain all of this. But the POPs, it appears to me it is the most deadly. What is very crucial for us is that it appears to me that the science tells us that it is almost an invisible threat. Because it's in the air, it's in the water, it's in everything. And we take it for granted that we have to do. So we have to, it is ticked off as something that we do nationally. We have to ensure that we do it for the benefit of future generations. So the success of all of this, I want to say, is that we will not write documents, we have the analysis done, we have these wonderful narratives, we put it on a shelf, and we move on with our lives. So this workshop, I think, has to be more, because we have experts in this room, people in forestry, in waste management, in health administration, in all of these. It has to be a collective voice that comes out of this exercise. And while we move on with our commitment to deal with the convention that we're part of. So the commitment can never be from just a government perspective. And that's why you're in this room. Because for too long, the development of countries, of states, the protection of the environment appears to be the concern of a government. And we need private citizens, enterprises, businesses to be part of that process. We can't just be complainers. We can't just be the voice of worry and lamentation. We have to be part of the process. So that's why you're here. And like the speaker said before, you are very busy people, and you make the commitment to be here. And that's why I find it important to be here as well, representing the cabinet of the Commonwealth of Dominica to ensure that, like we say in Creole, a little strength to do the work, because it doesn't happen in isolation. And so we have to shape a plan that is not only compliant to the international commitments, but is grounded in our experiences, our lived experiences. We have people here who have experiences every day and who can share, and we have to be candid in our utterances. Sometimes I find we can be fearful to speak truth because we are worried about friendships and connections. But I think we can only do what we do better if we are candid and we are upfront. Not rude, not loud and obnoxious, but candid and speak truth. So as the Minister responsible for the environment, I view this as a larger mission, or within the constructs of a larger vision, because I think it is one rooted, it has to be one rooted in resilience, in health, and also in sustainability. The safe management of these hazardous chemicals and waste is a cornerstone of our national agenda and our pursuit to really make Dominica, not just in words, but the first climate resilient country. So I really want to express my deep gratitude to the BCRC, the UNEP, the JEF, for playing a part. As a government, we know we need international partners, we need development partners to make our work done, but we also need people at the grassroots level. And that's why it's so important for us to do this. So we have to ensure that what we do here goes beyond these walls. I mean, we sit here, and because sometimes within those walls we operate within an echo chamber. We know the issues because we're all part of it. So we have to move that beyond those walls to ensure that the people out there, the local people, the people whose lives we want to really change can get the benefit of what we do. So it has to be more than a workshop. It has to be an exercise of spreading that knowledge, spreading that vision, and let it be, in my humble view, a declaration that we will add moral commitment to international obligation to ensure that what we do in our country can make it better. I'm really happy to be here this morning. I do not know how long I could stay with you guys. Former minister here, he would understand. I suspect that we have pressing matters to do, but I think it was so important because we get all hyped up and sometimes agitated when we see issues with solid waste, for instance, because it's something that is very visible. We get excited and sometimes we get upset when we see the land degradation, because you can see landslides and you can see the cutting down of trees. But in something like this, something that you don't see, it's also important because it affects our lives in many, many different ways. And as we move into doing all of what we do, and moving even away from what happens on the land into the sea, because we are going now in the Parliament tomorrow to discuss and to finalize the sperm whale sanctuary, and all of the stuff that happens on the turf definitely affects the surf. So what we do here is so important, and we have to see this more than just a workshop. An international convention where we'll be in a good light, but also see it as a serious moral obligation that we have to play our part as humans of Waitukubuli, and as we're in the independence season, we are celebrating 47 years of independence as a nation. And I think we have done a lot. And sometimes we lament the fact that we can do more. And I think we can do more. But we're in a good space, and I really want to encourage you to be candid and to bring that knowledge forward, and to ensure that the place that we call home will continue to be a good place for our children and for our grandchildren. And like we say in the First Nations, we're talking about actually 7 generations. That's how we're going to affect change in 7 generations. Because the work we do here today, we may not see it in our lifetime, but it will be benefited. The benefits will come from our children. The very same way that the ancestors who fought never saw freedom fully, what we enjoy today, 7 generations after. What we do today in that workshop will, I think, affect change 7 generations from now. So let's have faith in the process, and let's be candid, and let us play our part to ensure that Dominica can continue to grow to become the wonderful space that we all enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for those very impactful words. I'm sure it resonated with everyone in the audience here this morning. So next up on the agenda, we would like to open the floor to those in the room and those online for the introduction of participants. So as you would see, to those in the room, there is a mic on each of the tables. So I'd invite each of the tables, starting from the one in the front, to please unmute and introduce yourselves and the organization that you represent. Thank you.
Testing. Good morning to everyone. My name is Ambrose George. I'm the Director of Agri-Sales and Services Company Limited. It's a company that provides agrochemicals, fertilizers, seeds, agricultural inputs on a whole. And we have been established since 1992 and still operating. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rona Lawrence, and I represent the Roseau City Council.
Good morning. My name is Dennis Smith, and I represent the Ministry of Education.
Good morning. Honorary Edmond, Chief Pharmacist, Ministry of Health.
Good morning, Eldorado Jukri, Ministry of Environment.
Good morning, my name is Bernard Francis. I'm the Senior Health, Safety and Environmental Officer at DOMLEC.
Okay, thank you. So we'll pass the floor to the table at the front on the other side of the room.
Good morning, my name is Edgar Hunter, and I'm the Senior Technical Advisor in the Ministry of Environment.
Good morning, my name is Steve Bell, representing the Portsmouth Town Council.
Good morning, my name is Desiree Campbell. I'm the Acting Deputy Labour Commissioner within the Labour Division.
Good morning, my name is Minister Taylor, Statistician, Center for
Good morning, my name is Rico Burke, Supervisor of Customs, and I represent Customs and Service Unit.
Good morning to all. Isabella Jones, Senior Environmental Health Officer of the Environmental Health Department.
Okay, thank you. So we'll ask and invite the table to the back left to please unmute and introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Lawrence Etienne, and I represent Dominica Bureau of Standards.
Bonjour tout le monde. Florian Michel, Dominica Soil Waste Management Corporation. C'est journée Creole, c'est en Creole.
Good morning, Desiree Bonnet, Ministry of Environment.
Good morning, Nigel Lab, Ministry of Environment, Forestry, Wildlife and Parks Division.
Good morning, Linda Regis Christmas, Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation.
Good morning, Nathalie Roland. I'm the manager of 100% Green, where we supply biodegradable food container, and I'm also representing Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association for today.
Good morning, my name is Nicole Laville. I'm representing the Dominica Hospitals Authority.
Good morning, Lisana Dyer, Senior Policy Advisor, Ministry of Environment.
Okay, thanks so much to the table at the left, and we'll finally ask the table at the rear right to please unmute and introduce yourself.
Good morning to all. Omondi McIntyre, the National Project Assistant for GF Islands, Dominica.
Good morning. I'm John Elliot Charles. I'm the legal consultant with the National Project Team.
Bonjour, Martin Anthony, Scotland. With the National Project Team, a public health specialist.
Good morning to everyone. Emmanuel Dubois, consultant attached to the National Project Team.
Good morning, everyone. Daniel Akyung, Project Execution Officer with the BCRC Caribbean.
Okay, thank you so much to all the participants in the room. And apologies, I can't see who's online at the moment, but if there are any participants here with us online, kindly asking that you unmute and introduce yourself to those in the room. Thanks so much.
Good morning, everyone. Ms. Annemarie Serafina Alexander, Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, Division of Agriculture, Pesticide Control. I'm sorry I couldn't make it in person this morning because I have 2 sessions attending.
Thank you so much for being here with us still. Are there any other participants online here with us?
Acknowledging we also have participants from Ada Trust, as well as Karen Casimir from DBOS, Ms. Jacqueline Alexander Renwick from DOASCO, Mr. Jason Bruno, Coyote Ducre, Karina Diolan, and Norman Alexander.
Okay, thank you so much. So, at this point of the morning's agenda, I would like to pass the floor to my colleague, Ms. Amara Pravat, Project Coordinator, to provide a brief overview of the Global Environment Facility 10785 project, or as we commonly know it, the Global NIPS project. So Amara, I invite you to the floor.
Okay. I will just be taking us through an overview of what the GEF 10785 project is all about. So we'll get started with the first agenda item, which is just to remind you guys, because I'm sure some of you already know who we are at the BCRC Caribbean. Okay, so the Basel Convention Regional Center for Training and Technology Transfer for the Caribbean is currently hosted by the Government of Trinidad and Tobago through a framework agreement with the Basel, Rotterdam, and Stockholm Convention. So we are based in Trinidad, so myself, Troy, and Danielle traveled to Dominica from Trinidad yesterday. The BCRC Caribbean currently serves a total of 15 Caribbean countries that are parties to different chemicals and waste multilateral environmental agreements. These include the Basel, Rotterdam, Stockholm, and Minamata conventions. The center is charged with assisting parties here in the region with the execution of chemicals and waste management projects. We also support with the provision and facilitating training and information dissemination throughout the region, and we help to raise public awareness around chemicals and waste and the importance of their management through the work that we do. Next slide. So, this project, GEF 10785, the full name of the project is Global Development, Review and Update of the National Implementation Plans, or NIPS, under the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants. Overall, the goal of the project is to reduce the dependency of parties to the convention on external expertise. So instead of dominating country here in the Caribbean looking outside for support with updating its NIP, through this project, we hope to build local capacity and strengthen national implementation plan. The objective of the project is to facilitate the implementation of the Stockholm Convention in a total of 21 countries all over the world. So this is being done through the development, the review, as well as updates of the national implementation plans, which then have to be submitted to the Stockholm Convention's Conference of the Parties. The project is being executed by a total of 6 Basel and Stockholm Convention regional centers, one of them being the BCRC Caribbean. And the project is also supported by the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership. So here in the Caribbean region, the center is working with Dominica and the Bahamas on the execution of this project. So on the slide here, we're providing you with an overview of the project. So this project is supposed to last for 4 years. It is supposed to come to a close towards the end of this year. For the global project, which again supports a total of 21 countries all over the world, the total budget is $8 million US. And for the 2 Caribbean project countries, they have an allocated budget of $617,600 US. On this side of the screen, we're just showing who's involved in the project. So the project is funded by the GEF, or the Global Environment Facility. It's implemented by UNEP, or the United Nations Environment Program. It's executed in the Caribbean by the BCRC Caribbean. And again, the 2 project countries that are involved are the Bahamas and Dominica. On this screen, and I do note that it is quite small, we just go through the 5 different project components. I think the most important component for us here today is component 3, which involves 2 outputs. The first of them being developing and updating NIPs, which are endorsed by national stakeholders and then submitted to the Secretariat of the Stockholm Convention. And the second output in this component is national reporting is submitted to the Stockholm Convention Secretariat. So as mentioned, the center is in charge of executing the project here in Dominica, and we are focused mainly on component 3. We are also focused on component 5, which is monitoring and evaluation. So that involves the centers reporting to UNEP about how the project's going, so the progress of the project, as well as how expenditure is going under the project. Next slide. Right. So here on the screen, we're just providing you with a breakdown of how the project is set up here in the Caribbean. So again, we at the center are working very closely with the focal points of the project here in Dominica, which does sit with the Ministry of Environment. The ministry is also supported by what we call a national working group, which is made up of different stakeholders, local stakeholders, who can ensure that the work being done under the project is accurate. So through the center, we have engaged a NIP update expert. So that is Dr. David Haynes, who you'll hear from in a little while. And in both of the project countries, we've also engaged a small national project team made up of 3 people. So here in the room, we have Mr. Emmanuel Dubois, Mr. Martin Scotland, and then Mr. John Elu. Oh my gosh, Mr. Elu Charles. And they are the project team here in Dominica. And they're also supported very closely by Dr. Haynes. So here on this slide, we're just showing the different milestones of the project. So back in 2023, in November of 2023, we actually held the National Inception and Training Workshop. So that was held at Jungle Bay. Then after that, in inception, the team worked very diligently on their data collection. This phase of the project involved developing questionnaires that could be sent out to stakeholders to collect the necessary data for the updated NIP. Earlier this year in April, we had the POPs inventory validation workshop where the team presented what they found based on their data collection, and we also started the planning or developing of action plans that could be included in the NIP. After that workshop, the team continued to work through what action plans could be included in the NIP. We then had a priority validation workshop, which was held virtually in July, towards the end of July of this year. Following that, the team was charged with basically pulling all of the parts of the NIP together. So they would be pulling information from the POPs inventories, pulling together the action plans in order to develop an updated NIP for Dominica. And today marks part one, I would say, of number 7 on the screen. So this is the national endorsement of the updated NIP, and it will be followed by the submission of the updated NIP to the Secretariat. And I say part 1 because there is some work still to be done on the updated NIP, and we do hope to have a smaller endorsement workshop a bit later in November where we can present a more finalized version of the NIP. Next slide. Right, and this is just, I would say, the project in some pictures. So up on top, we actually have the inception meeting back in 2023. So you might see some of your faces on that in that photo. The photo below that was from our workshop in April. And then the third row is some of the gentlemen who joined us online. And on the bottom and the sides of the screen, you can see some of the work that the consulting team did throughout their data collection process. Right. So today's workshop. The objectives of today's workshop include to review the results and obtain a final endorsement of the POPs inventories that were completed by the project team. We'll also be reviewing what are the priority areas or what are the areas that we need to focus on based on the POPs inventories, as well as the action plans that have been developed and are being proposed for the management of POPs. We hope to also further endorse and hopefully validate some of what is presented today, which will go in, or which is part of the NIP. And we will also discuss the next steps to support the finalization of the updated NIP for Dominica, as well as the completion of the 10785 project here. On this slide, we also just run through some of the agenda. So I won't go through it all, but I again want to just thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. And we look forward to hearing from you about your thoughts on the updated NIP. And just one part I'd flag is part of the project involves raising awareness about POPs here in Dominica. So we do have a presentation where we'd like to hear from you what you think is the best way to share information about POPs with the citizens and people of Dominica. So that'll be a presentation later on, but I do hope you guys let us know what you think is best. Okay? And with that, I'll say thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. If there are no questions.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, right, yeah. So we will now be having a presentation from Dr. David Haynes. So Dr. David Haynes is based in Australia. So unfortunately, he couldn't be here in person with us. However, he recorded a presentation which goes through what the NIP process is like and what endorsement looks like. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Haynes. I'm a consultant that's been retained by the BCRC Caribbean to provide assistance in the Caribbean NIP update. I had the pleasure of meeting many of you over a number of workshops over the last 2 years, and thank you for the invitation to join you again this morning through my. In my presentation, I'd like to briefly reintroduce the Stockholm Convention and their NIP update process, and then provide a few details about how NIP endorsement and submission generally happens, and then leave you with a few final thoughts on the importance of the NIP endorsement and also on chemical monitoring in the Caribbean into the future. So after 2 years, I guess we're all very aware of what POPs, or persistent organic pollutants, are. They're chemicals that evaporate and travel long distances through the air and through water, and they can exist for very long periods in the environment before degrading into less dangerous forms. Unfortunately, due to their chemical nature, they tend to accumulate in fatty and other tissues where they can exert toxic impacts on humans, plants and animals. Recognising that these chemicals are an issue, the international community came together to work towards managing the use of and the eventual elimination of these types of chemicals in the 1970s. The outcome was the Stockholm Convention in 2004, which was specifically designed to protect human health and the environment from dangerous POPs chemicals. The convention originally listed 12 chemicals for management action, and that list has now grown to 34 chemicals or groups of chemicals which are listed for elimination or use reduction. These 34 chemicals fall into 3 broad categories. The first are the POPs chemicals. These are chemicals that are deliberately manufactured to control insects and weeds. They're highly toxic and persistent in the environment and include well-known pesticides including DDT and dieldrin. The second group are the industrial chemicals. These are deliberately manufactured POPs for a specific purpose. One example are PCBs, which are a dielectric, which were used in electrical transformers. The third group are the unintentionally produced POPs, or the UPOPs. These chemicals, these UPOPs, are accidentally produced, mainly during low temperature exertion amongst other chemicals, dioxins and furans. The National Management of Persistent or NIP. This document is drawn up to summarise the current national situation for POPs management, and it identifies a range of prioritised actions that will help to systematically manage the POPs that are generally made up of 6 management strategies. The first strategy is usually the creation of an appropriate legal and institutional framework to manage POPs nationally. Take POPs data collection to enable improved management of POPs. The strategy is to institutionalise nationally sound management of POPs. Human capacity to enable improved POPs management. The fifth strategy is to elevate stakeholder awareness of the POPs issues and how they can be better managed. And the final strategy 6 is the implementation, monitoring, evaluation and reporting of activities carried out under the NIP. National implementation plans were completed in Dominica in 2006 and in the Bahamas in 2021. It's essential that these NIPs are updated to ensure that national POPs management goals are being met and that newly listed chemicals under the Stockholm Convention are included in management actions. This will ensure that any impact of POPs on human health and the environment are minimised and monitored, and of course that newly listed chemicals are included in a chemical management framework. The new NIPs will prioritise the national actions necessary to meet the requirements of the Stockholm Convention and meet national chemical management needs, and also the NIPs The NIP update process involves a series of sequential steps. The first is appropriate personnel and resources allocated to it. This is, of course, includes the formation of the national NIP teams and also the coordinating and funding mechanisms, priorities and objectives to improve the management of these chemicals. Also assess the national infrastructure available and the capacity that's available to improve chemical management nationally. And then finally, to complete the process by drafting, revising NIP, taking in. Completion of national POPs inventories is a key step. This reviews and summarises information on the national sources, use and production. It includes documenting information on the national presence of POPs stockpiles and contaminated sites and POPs in waste streams. It also helps to identify where the current national management priorities. This will help prioritise national management actions to reduce national impacts of POPs chemicals on public health and the environment. And it will also help identify improvement to protect human and environmental health. And it will also enable the development of NIP action plans, which will help guide national management of chemicals which reflect. It also helps to identify the technical and financial assistance needed to implement the updated NIP action plans when they've been completed. And this will in turn, of course, improve management of chemicals in Dominica and the Bahamas to be endorsed. The national endorsement of the NIP will help secure political support and endorsement for the updated NIP and its national implementation in 2026. The updated and nationally endorsed NIP will allow submission of the NIP in early 2026 to the Conference of the Parties, or the COP. And this will help promote the technical and financial assistance needed. Importantly, submission of this updated NIP may release GEF finance to help manage priority chemicals identified in the updated NIP document. So just to summarise, original NIPs for the Bahamas and work has allowed information to be updated and an assessment of new Stockholm chemicals to also be completed and included in the NIP where possible. The update that's planned for Dominica and the Bahamas is the Global Chemicals Monitoring Program, which is due to commence in 2026. This program will monitor POPs inventions and represents a really useful potential way that chemicals can be monitored throughout the Caribbean into the future. BCRC Caribbean and from the website on the slide. And I really encourage you to consider carefully future involvement in this program. To conclude, I'd just like to acknowledge the effort that the national project teams have put into this project over the last 2 years to complete an extremely demanding project. I'd also like to thank the national stakeholders, who, and of course yourselves today, who have helped guide the NIP updates. Thanks is also due, of course, to the BCRC Caribbean, and in particular Amara, Troy and UNEP for funding of the project. And thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, so we'd like to extend our thanks to Dr. David Haynes for his, as well as the endorsement process for the NIP for Dominica. So moving right along, we'd like to invite the national project team to provide a recap of the validation plans related to pesticide management. So I'd invite Mr. Dubois to the floor. Thank you.
Okay, good morning to everyone. Session stated I am part
So
of the national
that's it
team,
from here.
along with Mr. Scotland and Mr. Charles. This morning, I'm going to provide the information, will validate our presentation today. I must say that it was not an easy task. Getting information, not only
Here, just the opening ceremony we are bringing live to you. Only the opening ceremony of this workshop and why it matters. And it is the Stockholm Convention Persistent Organic Pollutions adopted on May 22nd, 2001 in Stockholm, Sweden, and already entered into force on the 17th of May 2004 to protect human health and the environment from chemicals that are persistent, toxic, and through the environment. And these are persistent organic pollutions. They persist in the environment, and they do travel long distances in air, water, so they can affect areas far from where they were released. And so Dominica, beautiful natural country, is affected even by the effects of these and also from climate change. So when we hear climate change, this is part of it as well. They are has effects on people, and they include cancers, effects on the immune system, reproductive system, the nervous system, development, endocrine disruption, etc. that are intentionally produced. Examples, some pesticides, industrial chemicals, and the like. And the whole idea is to we trust that this workshop today will bring significant benefits to Dominica, to our environment, as we try our best as a small country to battle climate change. And so we are affected, and efforts are being made to help reduce the effects of these on us in Dominica. This is a whole day workshop and will end at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Right now we have the recap of the validated POPs inventors going on now. We also have the recap of the validated POPs inventories by the national project team. We also have other speakers down to speak and what the further action or the plans are to help protect our beautiful Dominica. They will end at 4 o'clock. Thank you so very much for listening on the Genuine Sound of Dominica and for watching on Facebook TV and YouTube. I am Steve Vidal on behalf of my technicians Gustav Drago and Chief Technician Yipman Bruno, taking it back to Master Control. Keep it locked into the Genuine Sound of Cairo FM. Don't forget to join us for broadcast later. We'll talk Lindomat a little later today, and we also invite you to join us tomorrow night from the University of the West Indies for the E.O. Libla lecture, which was scheduled for last week, but due to inclement weather conditions we had to postpone. Don't forget to enjoy Flag Day 2025 and carry your flag, wear your flag, put up your flag, be proud of your flag. Good morning.